anyway, it was really fun putting this together. All I've listed here are the people who went on the music travels, but there's a cast of thousands who have been helpful in doing this. And basically, we were very fortunate to get a Fogarty grant. And why is that so? Fogarty's are NIH grants to do stuff internationally. They don't have huge amounts of money, but they're actually very competitive. And it's nice funding because you're allowed to do pretty much what you want in terms of research, as long as you do things like IRBs and that kind of thing. And so Fogarty Center was set up to help build capacity in other countries in regards to research. Anyway, we got it last year. We have 3 years, and it's really very fun. So here are the real cast of characters, and May and Kathy are on here, and so we got a bunch of people who have had Africa experience, Annie Lemoyne and Fritz Zimmerman. Kathy is, this is an e-capacity grant, so we need computer stuff. We have May and Jessica and Mike and Mary Sue who've done things with media, and Mary Sue's in the nursing faculty and she does transmedia. And then we have a former doctoral student who's Philip Massey, who's at Drexel now. At UCAD, which is Université Cheikh Anta Diop, we'll just call it UCAD for now, which is our Senegalese partner. We have Dr. Young, Nadak Diop, Anta Talbia, Fatou Kamara, and Mustafa Tamba. They're all PhDs in sociology and anthropology. And we also have a partner who's our NGO or helper and sort of key to the whole thing with Alex Rideau. And then we have people here who have done some entertainment education research. And Noel actually is a television producer. He used to be a director of, I think it was, not General Hospital, something like Days of Our Lives. And he was a television production. Don't ask. Okay, so given that this is sort of has to do with a television production, I decided to tell it in terms of storylines because it's complicated. So there's an A story, a B story, and a C story. And the A story is C'est la Vie is a TV show that's airing right now in Africa with a delayed start date in Senegal so we could do the research there. And it's a opera about healthcare systems, and we'll tell you more. And the prize is getting money to do the evaluation because it's important that these TV shows actually show that they're having an impact. And then the story is we got a training grant to do this as opposed to a research grant. And again, that's had interesting implications for us because we have to train people to do the research as opposed to going out to do the research ourselves. But actually, in the long run, it fits completely with the whole capacity building project that we're doing because the TV show is also capacity building. The story, C stories, the cliffhangers, we almost didn't get the grant. There was an Ebola outbreak last year, if you noticed. There's some travel time issues. There's cultural differences. MIA, TIA means missing in action. This is Africa. Sometimes people go missing. There was even some drama at the end last month when I had to buy all the tablets on my credit card because of complications of getting the money from our wonderful EFM to us. So anyway, and then the A and B, it gets complicated because not only has the production grown and become much more complicated than I ever realized it was going to be, we still haven't even started collecting the data, which we're supposed to do any minute. All right. So this was us in December 2014. This is Alex Rideau here on the right. He's French, but he lives in Dakar now, hasn't been living there for 10 years. He's become a producer of television series. even though he runs an NGO and he does all kinds of other things. This is Philip Massey, who's a former doctoral student, and Andrew Martel, who has been a project coordinator and has been wonderful. She speaks French, and she basically helps get us organized. So this is actually not a real center de centre. It's a television set, okay? And what they've done, oh, and Rock is part of our cast of characters as well. Yes. This is actually a TV set. They took over an old community center and they created a set. And this is actually in December 2014, we went and they were actually producing the first season of C'est la Vie. And basically the television show is about midwives and nurses and doctors in a maternity center somewhere in West Africa. We know it's Dakar, but it's somewhere in West Africa. And it's all written, produced, scripted by Africans for Africans about health issues. So it's serialized. They do 26 episodes a year. They play it differently in different countries. It aired on Canal Plus, which is sort of like the French HBO last year. And then over the last few months, it's been going out to TV5 and some other channels, local channels. It'll be played this summer in 26 episodes, probably over 6 weeks. They'll probably do 2 or 3 a week. This is how they do soap operas in Senegal. And what we're doing this year is we think this, what we're doing is our pilot study. It's not going to be our final evaluation at all. But really the show really focuses on healthcare access, reproductive health, maternal and child health, quality of care, and adolescent health, which seems like a lot, and sexual violence. But actually, it's very hard to separate these storylines out because in some ways, culturally, it's all intertwined. I mean, there are a lot of issues in West Africa still. For those who aren't familiar, there's a lot of forced marriage, there's issues of physical abuse, there's issues of polygamy. Again, there's a debate even whether that's the issue or not. There's issues of a lack of access to care, poor quality of care, maternal mortality, child mortality, a lot of very, very difficult issues to solve. Yet, it's in a backdrop of a quickly urbanizing culture with more and more resources and a huge push because of Ebola, and actually it has been a push for a while, to improve the healthcare system in Africa. So people do get to see health professionals and get reasonably good quality of care. And they're even talking about starting health insurance there, so go figure. What C'est la Vie did as a transmedia approach, which means they don't just do a TV show, they do websites, they do think groups, they do other kinds of media. And here's the cliffhanger. They actually needed us to get research dollars so that they can continue to market and get funding. It cost them about $1 million a year to produce 26 episodes, okay? So they're constantly fundraising, and their funders are constantly saying, well, where's the research? And we're constantly saying, well, it's coming. We're doing it. It's sort of like the little engine that could. I know that seems like a lot of money, but it's not really. Okay, so back to the Fogarty, which is the B story. Basically, they want capacity building. The E-capacity grants, what she got was to use technology and to also think about interventions using technology, so that's why we qualified. Here's the cliffhanger in that one, though. It funds them, not us. I mean, we basically get 20% of the budget. It's about $100,000 a year for 3 years. It's not a lot of money. I keep saying it's not a lot of money. $80,000 of that every year goes to them to do the research and all that goes with that. So it's a good start. It's great seed funding. So we've also been on the money trail with UNICEF and others to try to get more funding. This is the view from the Reyes office, or it was the view. They've now switched offices. They've moved down the street, which is fine. But we got to sit and look at this beautiful ocean view. So Dakar, where we worked, is right on the Atlantic. The seafood is fabulous. The it's beautiful, beautiful city, which is basically tearing itself down right now and rebuilding itself into a modern urban city. So it's really quite interesting. I think this is happening all over Africa, actually. It's quite surprising. As somebody who was in the Peace Corps 40 years ago, it's quite interesting to see Africa rebuild itself. Anyway, this is our aims. This is the first year we tried to establish relationships. We wrote the grant in 2014. We got funded in 2015. We tried to, these last few months, we've been creating a research training track. And basically, our goal was to recruit and train 12 to 15 master's and doctoral students a year from UCAD who are part of the Institut de Sciences et l'Environnement, which basically it's sort of public health with much more of an emphasis on environmental health and epidemiology. And that's just it. They learn medical sociology and they learn ethnography, but they actually don't learn much about evidence-based practice. And that's where the sort of partnership evolved. It's like, well, our students don't know anything about how to do evaluation or anything about health communication. So that's really what they're excited about learning about. And basically, we decided we really are using C'est la Vie as a case study. So it's a wonderful opportunity to actually not just teach people, but then go out and actually do the work. So it's a kind of apprenticeship model. And I sort of, having just done this, wish we could do more of that here. We'll do it here, right? Just teach evaluation and then go make our students go out and actually evaluate something. Be a wonderful idea. Here's some cliffhangers. Just FYI, if you ever want a Fogarty, you have to have a Fogarty to get a Fogarty, and if you don't have a Fogarty, you have to have an R1 to get your first Fogarty. So, for anybody who's ever interested in this route, how did we qualify? Because we had another Fogarty. We had a behavioral science Fogarty. How did we get the first Fogarty? Because we had an R01 that had to do with adolescent health with NICHD. If we didn't have the current Fogarty when we applied, we would not have been eligible to get this Fogarty. And even then, we almost didn't get it. We were on the margins in terms of our score. How did we end up getting it? Well, I had a very good relationship with a project officer. And I wrote a letter. And Dr. Young helped reformulate the letter. And it just so happened we had an Ebola epidemic, so all of a sudden West Africa became a place that they wanted to spend some money. So all I can say is we had to really work to get this. Even though it's not a lot of money, it's really hard money to get. Okay? So implementation, we went first in December to sort of get it started, establish relationships. However, if you remember last year, there was an Ebola epidemic. So the good was it helped us push us over the edge in terms of being considered for funding. The bad was Dr. Nyang, who's a renowned anthropologist in West Africa, had to go to Mali and Guinea for 9 months for WHO and do community-based ethnographic research to help villages fight and the medical corps to fight Ebola. So he was gone for 9 months. However, it was okay because it had taken longer for C'est la Vie to get finished, and we were able to push back the start date because we want to do the evaluation baseline in Senegal before they air the show. Okay, that's our goal this year. And so that's us in December 2015, trip number 2. That shows us eating in a game farm, but there's one of the things you do when you go to a place like this is you do eat a lot. But that's Dr. Philippe, whose last name I've forgotten. He was very high up in UNICEF in regional West Africa. He was a OBGYN in Benin for 30 years and now works at regional UNICEF. And It's really important that you go and you build relationships with people when you go on these little journeys. And so basically the question became, when Andrea and I were there in December of this last year, so what do we want to focus on? And it was a really good chance for us to work with Dr. Nyang, who had just come back from Guinea and was sort of having some PTSD about it. And he would be the first to admit it was a little hard to come back. But we started saying, what do we need to do to evaluate this? And what can we do, given our resource and given what we need to do? And basically, when you evaluate a TV show, there's usually some sort of audience research where you do survey research. You can do focus group testing to understand how the programs are impacting the audience. You can also do what we call theater testing, where you take storylines and you test them in an experimental classroom situation. We're planning to do that in UCAD among students there very soon. And we'll take very, very specific strips of storylines in the program and actually test whether or not the students actually understand what the messages are, which are sometimes subtle and buried, okay? So it's not a slam dunk. Then other big thing that we wanted to do is opinion polling, so that we can actually go out to real markets, actually in real urban and suburban areas, and maybe some rural, and actually ask people if they've heard of this, if they've seen it, if they've been to the website, if they remember anything, and then also their opinions and perceptions about some of the themes that are going to be aired. So we're going to do a before and after on that one. The theater testing we'll do before, just to get some really quick and dirty, I shouldn't say dirty, quick read data, because we have to present to UNICEF soon. They want to have some data before they'll give us some money. But we have to collect the data before we can give them data. So it's like, again, this interesting catch-22. We're not going to give you the money until we get the data on it. Okay? So we wanted to do data mining as well. They have a big website. We will do this. We just may not do it right now. And there's also social media. We will do this. We just can't do it right now. And we want to do some longitudinal data collection using smartphones. The only problem is only 14% of the population in this area of the world has smartphones, so we're going to have to modify how we're going to do that a little bit. We may have to use a text survey kind of company to do that. Okay, so as I said, the themes are family planning, quality of health care, adolescent health and reproductive rights, big issue. The teens get access to health care, and can they get contraceptives? Huge issue is gender violence. Basically, there's a lot of forced marriage. Girls are married off at 15 to older guys who already have 2 wives. It's a Muslim country. It's particularly this part of West Africa is Muslim. Now, all of West Africa is not, obviously, but there is a huge amount of physical abuse and also issues of rape. And, of course, the whole issue of female circumcision or excision, as they call it in French. There's also reproductive health issues, big time, like huge problem. Not so much HIV/AIDS in this part of the world as sexually transmitted diseases, gonorrhea, chlamydia. There's issues with abortion, illegal abortions. There's issues with coming to grips with sexuality. It's a huge movement right now for gender rights, and also for recognizing LGBT rights in this part of the world, believe it or not. And it's huge it's very controversial, actually.
Abortion is legal?
Yeah. Abortion is legal, however, women die of abortions all the time because they go outside the medical system, or there are abortion mills. I mean, it's very much like it was here.
Do they have to pay for an abortion?
Yeah. And then there are a lot of medicinal there's, traditional medicinal things that that people do. So it's there's a high maternal mortality there relative to the rest of the world.
The traditional herbs or medicinal things that they're doing, are those also resulting in deaths?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, in fact, I mean, I go back to my Peace Corps days and tell you the first time I went out doctor in my town, there was a young woman dying of an abortion from a guérisseur. So yes, sometimes they're illegal, sometimes it works, and sometimes people die.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting problem. And part of it is lack of access to contraceptive. I mean, it's a whole sort of syndrome that people believe they can't get contraceptives and yet they, don't want to have that child. Yeah, it's a very, again, it's very conservative religious, at least in this part of Africa. But I think throughout Africa, there's quite a great deal of sort of conservatism about these issues. Anyway, I wanted to show you just a little clip here of the show, and let's see if this works. I forgot to see if it was on the internet. Do you think this has internet access? You know what? I forgot to check it.
You'll just have to act it out for us.
I will. Oh no! Wait! Something's happening. Okay, this was just a teaser. Yeah.
Technologies. Maybe we need to sign.
So it's running.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Very good. Okay, this is just a promo, and there's also a clip in here of the whole thing. All right. Okay. But maybe we don't have that. Yeah, I'm a little worried here. Maybe we don't have the right software.
It's still spinning.
Really slow.
It's floating.
Internet money.
I don't know.
Well,
We ask people to do activities.
all right, you know what?
But it depends on the proper. I don't think it is.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just,
Network.
there you go.
There it is.
It just takes a while.
Just takes.
Okay, look. Did we just say? What? Wait a minute. Let's stop. Go back. No, the sound is not working.
Just play.
Start it.
Yeah, we already did. Press play.
Okay.
Should have tested this out.
No, maybe it's buffering.
Or maybe you should connect to the Edgerone network, but I think this is probably the Wi-Fi,
The
you see
web.
the Wi-Fi?
You see the web.
Oh, you see the web, I think.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's why.
Web is the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, it's working.
Avis de Ratanga et d'ailleurs. On y va. Allez, on y va.
Je me fais des soucis pour les jeunes. Il y a cette nouvelle sage-femme assistante. Je l'ai accueillie comme une sœur. Toi, l'étrangère, là, il va falloir apprendre à mieux t'adresser à moi. Et là, je découvre qu'elle est dangereuse. Je suis ta supérieure. Les deux supérieurs ici sont docteur Moulin et Diaye. La jeune femme là-bas, elle est encore enceinte. Je vais avoir un bébé. Je vais te chercher une deuxième épouse. Comment peux-tu dire des choses pareilles? Amène-moi au village pour que je trouve la perle rare par Kala.
Pourquoi tu fais ça?
Madame, vous avez une fracture du bras.
Pour travailler au centre de santé Ratanga, il faut aimer plonger dans l'inconnu et n'avoir peur de rien. Amis de Ratanga et d'ailleurs, n'oubliez pas, on est ensemble.
That's the teaser.
Wow.
It's
Some
really
great-
good.
Really good acting in it.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me just say something. They have top directors from all over West Africa, writers who've been trained in Paris, actors from, there's a growing television industry in this part of the world, in Waka, in Dakar, I think in Mali, and obviously in Nigeria. So basically, part of the idea here is to build capacity, build the TV industry up. Okay, so it's not just, that's what I'm saying, it's more complicated than just the story lines and a show. It's also how do you build local capacity. And actually the person who's doing this now is spun off from Reyes, which was an NGO, to Kiwu Productions, which is a profit, and actually is partnering to make this sustainable. So again, a lot of this has to do with sustainable development in this context, which is, I think, just really the way to do development work.
Yeah, what does it take to write this?
Basically, what they do is they use some Sabito method. They get a group of writers together. In fact, when I was there, they were finishing or working on the second year script. So essentially, they pull together focus groups of many health experts and talk about what the issues are. But then they get a group of writers and they start doing what you do here with a soap opera. They do a Bible, which is the every story arc in every scene. And then the writers get assignments and they start writing it. In fact, when I was there just this last month, the head writer, who's actually French, was bitching about how this one writer just went up to speed. And what were they going to do? But they basically just arc it out and then they write the 26 episodes. So, but by the summer, I think they're trying to shoot it. Let's put it this way, the summer's interesting because it's the rainy season. So I know this first year they shot it mainly in the fall, okay? And hopefully they want to sort of move up the shooting schedule. So it's a huge amount of work.
So you need local scope writers because
Yeah.
of the cultural part of it.
Oh, yeah.
You can't really just bring
Oh, yeah.
in American
No.
scope writers.
No, in fact, you wouldn't want to bring, the reason we have Noel and others, there's some others, is actually for technical assistance around camera work, sound systems, multi-camera, set development. There's a huge amount of complicated stuff that even a person who is educated in Paris, okay, so let's just say something and hopefully we don't hold me accountable. The television development here is probably way far advanced than other places. That's just the fact. Okay. Anyway, this other thing is a whole episode, and I'm happy to share that. So, all right, let's go back. How are we doing on time? The whole thing is also now being translated into English, and is being aired not only in French West African countries, but also in Ghana and Nigeria and Sierra Leone, and actually there's some competition. There are some other good shows out there, especially from Nollywood, which is Nigeria, but we think this might have a shot at becoming popular. What do you think, Brock? It's interesting. Anyway, so back to the training. So this is what we thought we were going to do based on our trip there in December of 2015. Sure, we'll just go in, we'll teach them some research design stuff. I've come up with a questionnaire, we'll put it on a tablet, we'll go do the research. Well, if only that were true. If only that were true. So this was us in my house in January. We decided that it would be nice for Dr. Nyang to come to Los Angeles because he was really sort of needing some R&R from his sojourn in Mali and Guinea. And so we said, okay, let's invite Dr. Nyang. And this is us at our house. And here's Rob, and here's Nicole who went, and here's Lindsay and May, and that's us on the couch. Sort of probably drunk. Anyway. Okay, implementation continued. again, the time was a wasting. We had to do this in March, or else you can only delay the airing of the season 1 in Senegal because all these other countries all around it, it's already airing. So we were getting worried. So then we were trying to get the money transferred from here to there. That ended up being a month-long saga for various reasons. We won't get into that. So I had to buy all the tablets on my credit card because we were going to buy the tablets here and bring them there. We used Samsung 7s. Why? Well, that's what the bookstore had. We were told to do Nexus 7s, but we couldn't get enough. We had to bring 15 because we thought we'd have 12 to 15 people being trained. Actually, 20 people showed up. We were actually 5 tablets short. But they worked out. They were great. I brought about 10 of them in my suitcase. Philip brought the other 5. We had notes from the university saying, it was cool. Okay. I wouldn't have been arrested for illegal.
Customs hit you through.
Customs didn't even bother to X-ray my bag. I mean, we got there, and Carrie put my bag through, and it's like nobody was paying attention.
Really? I would have thought it would have doing this.
I thought so too. That's why I had letters all over me. It was okay. See, the problem, here's the thing. It was 150 a piece here, whereas there it would have been like 300 a piece. So, interesting problem. But since it was her research, it was considered to be okay. Anyway, so the training itself, we started March 15th. We had a big, nice little ceremony at UCAD. As I said, instead of 15 students, we had 20 students. And this is over here on the left. I don't know if you can see this. That's what I thought we would teach. Actually, that's not what we taught. Because once I got there and did a diagnosis of what they needed to know, it wasn't even possible. So basically, the first week, it was all social determinants, health issues in Senegal, how to do a literature search using the web, culture and health. It was actually wonderful. Evidence-based practice, what is it? Health communication, what is it? How do you do audience research? I had to back way off, okay, because they were very up to speed on ethnography and culture. They just had no idea about public health in the true sense of the word. I mean, they could do epidemiology, but they couldn't understand where we were coming from. So,
apply it, right? How to apply it.
How to apply it. So week 2, we finally got to the case study, C'est la vie. We did a rollout. We looked at thematics. We split the students into teams of 4 or 5 people to look at quality of care, reproductive health, family planning, and adolescent health. And their task was not only to understand what the issues were, but also to start coming up with research questions. So that was a huge issue. They didn't really understand what a research question was, which was interesting. I mean, they sort of did, but not from an evidence-based perspective. So we taught them, and finally Philip arrived, and we taught them about how, experimental design, quasi-experiments, survey research, opinion polling, sampling, measurement constructs. How do you create a survey? They still had some issues. So by the end of the first week, I'm getting frantic emails from Nicole Hoff, who was going to come and teach them how to do the tablets and use Open Data Kit ODK. And there's this, you put your questionnaire into Excel and then you download it and upload it. But anyway, she's like emailing me frantically, do you have the questions? Do you have the questions? And it's hard. It's hard to get them to write the questions. So part of the problem we found the second week is that the students kept going to the demographic and health surveys and writing the questions like the demographic, like when you went to the doctor the last time, or it was all about personal individual health. And we kept saying, but we want attitudes, we want perceptions, we want norms. We want to know what they think about a man beating their wife. We want them to know whether it's the right of a teenager to get contraception. We want to know if it's the right of a woman to get prenatal care. So it was really shifting it off of them into a social context. So we had a lot of difficulty getting them And I think they finally started to get it because I started taking questions from other surveys that have done this, like Uzden from South Africa. There was some stuff from India. There was some stuff from other countries. So we started showing them what we were talking about. And they finally started to gel in the last second week. Then, of course, Easter Sunday arrived, and there was a 3-day holiday. It was like, oh no, that was okay.
We had all the same
It was
problem
very
during
interesting.
travel.
It was very interesting. But actually, it was good. Nicole Hoff came from Congo. Philip was there. I was there. We had lunch with Dr. Nyang. And we just said, look, Dr. Nyang, is it okay if we just come up with the questions and get the students to just go? And it was like, yeah, it's okay. So there's only so much you can do. And once we showed them what we were talking about, it was great. They got it. It was just sometimes you have to do a little more directive, I think. And it was the same thing with them thinking up the research design as opposed to us sort of pushing it. Again, it was sort of an interesting balance between where they were. They loved it. Oh, by the way, I just have to say the students were absolutely entranced by the whole project. We were so happy.
I think part of it is they think we have this kind of cultural, it's the education system.
Yeah.
Because I have the same experience
Yeah,
when I go to
it's very
China.
rote learning. It's
Students are used to just listening,
right.
never arguing with
Yes.
the professor, questioning. And it suddenly is like you want them to create, come up with new questions and all of that.
I
The
know.
transition can't happen there.
Right. Well, it's also the French system, and from Dr. Young's perspective, it's changing. They're trying to adopt an American system now, but it's changing slow. It took him 20 years and two theses to get his doctoral degree. I mean, it's a really slow system. It's horrendously slow. So again, that last week we got finally to the survey questions. We got them to understand how to put it onto upload and download on these Samsungs. And it was sort of like, then they went out and they actually did some pre-testing around the university to see if the questions were working. And now they're in the process of redoing it. And that was great, actually. We didn't go do theater testing. We didn't do any opinion poll. We didn't have our IRB approved yet. We had it approved for training, but not for the research, and that was fine. It is what it is. Anyway, we started at UCAD in a classroom no bigger than this. And then we moved to another building. This is Alex over here. Dr. Young is behind him. But the internet was really bad. So we ended up deciding to just go over to the NGO. And I'm so glad we did that because the internet was actually more or less good 80% of the time. And that was, we were in a nice big downstairs conference room. And basically all the students had laptops. So that wasn't the issue. It really was they didn't know how to collect data using, they knew how to collect data, they just didn't know how to think about it on their own. So this was Nicole who came and started showing them about, so the third week, the students were really great working in groups. They would do a whole group project and then they would come back with presentations. This is the boxes, the things came in, this is Philip showing them something. And we drank a lot of coffee. And it was sort of like when they finally got the computers to work, it was really, they just were just amazed because I don't know if any of you have used tablets to collect data, but it's just like, it's like using an iPad. You just click, with your little finger and you just click through. And so we had nice little holders too, so they can go into markets and ask the 30 or 40 questions, and that's what we did.
And then it saves, right, onto the
Yes.
tablet. So
It
you don't
saves.
need wireless, you don't need to directly.
So you don't need
Yeah.
Wi-Fi, and the reason we got Samsung 7s is because they have an 8-hour battery life. So you can do a whole day, you can do your 30 or 20 or 15 or how many interviews, you save it, you upload it onto a laptop. So you don't even need a Wi-Fi connection. And you just put it straight, you can do it all offline.
Have you merged all that data together? Because, I've done this sort of thing, and then the merging becomes sometimes a little scary.
Yeah, we haven't yet, because we still have to collect it, but even just the downloading is scary, because sometimes it gets into a different kind of file. I'll show you the questionnaire in an old version, and I can't download the new version, it's just like, anyway, let me finish this and I'll show you. So to be continued, now we're trying to get the IRB to say it's okay, and we're going to try to do theater testing in May, and that's really looking at different cuts of the storyline and how people basically see it. We're trying to get students to go to 8 different sites in Senegal where they're going to do participatory sort of group things in May as well. June, we're going to try to do the baseline opinion polling in actual markets. Well, there is one mall in Dakar. We're actually going to go for younger adults at this point who speak French. We don't have the time or the money to do, and the show hasn't been translated to local language yet, so that's fine. And that's it. Look, if this audience gets it, if this audience gets it, then certainly it will show us something. It's not going to be a representative sample at this point. We're saying this year's sort of a pilot year. And then, as I said, it's going to be broadcast, we believe, in July, and then we'll do some outcome data polling in August and September, and then we'll hopefully get back and help them learn how to do data analysis in October. And finally, a week after I got back here, the money was transferred. just FYI. You gotta learn. Anyway, that's us towards the end. This is the furthest west point in Africa. It's Point Damadi. Did you ever go out there, Rock? It's out there by the embassy.
Oh, okay.
It's where you get the seafood, where you get good seafood. Of course, we went to a sushi bar, but that's okay too. Anyway, it was really fun and beautiful. So I wanted to show you what the questionnaire that we ended up with, because that's the other thing. It's in French. Hold on a second. I'm doing just so. Too much stuff.
That is totally fine, you don't have a recommended sample, because this is a training grant.
Yeah. It's a training grant.
Yeah.
You know what? Well, here's what we're hoping. I don't want this. I just did this. I want the actual CD. Okay. What we're trying to do is, if we get more money from UNICEF, they seem to be very interested, particularly in some of the sexual violence stuff. We're hopeful that we can maybe hire a company to help us with some of the data collection. I mean, it's a lot to ask the kids are not kids, they're young adults, to do all the data collection, so we would get some, like maybe, so this is in French, and basically we ask demographics, like, gender, age, etc., where you born. And then what we did here is we asked a lot of adolescent health questions, and again, it was, do adolescents have the right to get protection if they have sexual relations, buy condoms, get sex ed information, get personal care, and do they have the responsibilities? We took some of this of a RO1 week where we developed some measures. There's also some standardized measures floating around for this.
What are rapports sexuels protégés?
What are the what?
Rapports sexuels protégés. I mean, so,
Protected.
yeah, I understand what it
Protected.
means, but it's weird. So you're asking if they have the right to have protected sex?
Yeah, do they have the right to have contraception? Because there was a campaign to dissuade teens from getting modern contraception, saying it was illegal for somebody who was under 18 or wasn't married. So again, what we're trying to say is that's not true. That in fact there are now just the beginnings of some teen health clinics here, so that kids can. Again, when we're promoting okay, so there's certain political things you can't talk about premarital sex as but you can at least say,
And that's why it's such a funny question, right?
yes.
Because you're not asking, do they have the right to have sexual
No, we
relations?
can't
No.
ask that. We
It's,
can only
do they
say,
have the right to
do,
protect themselves during the act,
Yes.
which is a funny roundabout.
There's
That's
a-
what's weird. That's why I was asking.
there's a
about the
lot of
question.
workarounds
Yeah.
here. There's certain things you can't talk about. Like,
Especially not in a mall.
you'll see nothing in here about LGBT, okay? You'll see nothing in here about abortions. I mean, it's just like there's certain things you can't really talk about openly.
And yet you said abortions are legal.
They're illegal. They're
Oh,
illegal.
illegal.
They're illegal. Oh, no, they're
Oh,
very
I think
illegal.
so.
The problem is people
Okay.
get illegal.
Oh, okay.
Maternal and child health, the women have the right to get prenatal care, give birth in a health clinic. I know this sounds obvious, but again, there's a lot of resistance to the idea that people can get available care. A lot of these organizations charge money. It's sort of interesting, and people aren't always clear what costs money and what doesn't cost money.
Also traditionally, a lot of people, right, traditionally had
Yeah,
their
there's
children at home,
traditional-
they wouldn't.
There's traditional midwives. There is a whole scene in the first season with a traditional midwife doing a circumcision on a girl, and not to be a spoiler, the girl dies. Okay, so there is a huge problem about that, and it's not to malign traditional midwives. It's just there is a movement to professionalize healthcare in this part of the world. A lot of it because some of the traditional practices just are illegal.
Are these mostly yes no questions and make it quick and easy for people
Yeah.
to respond?
There's some stuff on immunizations, gender-based violence. We have a lot of questions on that.
How many questions is it?
Well, at this point, it's too many. Well, that's why we've got to cut it down. Again, that's part of the next phase is to get it cut down. Not all these questions are going to stay. This is an older version. I had a newer version and I couldn't get it to download in Excel. So again, have you had this problem? Have you used Open Data Kit?
Well, not this one. No, I'm still thinking about like the old days with Epi Info and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
People still use.
People still use EpiInfo. Open Data Kit was something that's a free shareware program that Nicole Hoff and Annie are using in the Congo, and they said it just works really well. Again, there's issues with marriage. There's all kinds of issues with the rights of women in marriage, out of marriage, forced marriage. What should people do if somebody is being beaten? What is the responsibility if you're seeing somebody who's being abused? Again, there's a lot of issues around this in this culture now. And, should also, if this is confidential information, people don't like to press charges if their husband beats them. So then what are their recourse, So we have a lot more on sexual violence than I thought we would actually have. And then access to equality of care is a huge issue in this part of the world. Again, it's really about making it confidential. Is it accessible? Is it free? Do people show you respect? Do people yell at you? And there's a whole bunch of scenes in this where people are actually abused in a clinic. Again, big issue. There is a whole other sub-theme, which is attracting women to become health professionals, but there's no one storyline about that. And then there's some recall and exposure. This is very, very preliminary. This has to be worked out. This is for baseline. We'll have much more extensive recall and exposure when we do the post-test. So this is just, again, the beginning.
Are you going to follow some of those people? Is that the objective while you're asking their contact information?
We want to. What we were thinking is we do a subsample with a longitudinal component. And that's why we were saying we'd like to do the longitudinal component with we wanted to do smartphones. Philip has a smartphone app that he can use. Problem is, that's a small minority. So we're going to test it out. See, even if we use it on a small minority, can we use it? Or are we going to actually default back to a text messaging survey? which only can do a few questions at a time. I mean, the problem with text messaging, at least my familiarity with that, and I don't know if anybody else has used text messaging, you can only get a few questions at a time. But if you're following people over the life of a show, that might be okay. And so, yeah. So it's like intense and really fun. And I want to do a course here. I've decided we're going to do an evaluation course here, and we're going to actually go out and evaluate something. Are you in?
Go for it.
We should. I mean, that would be really fun. It's really fun to do real stuff.
This is great.
Yeah, it is.
It's really fun to do real stuff. And we've been talking, maybe we need to take these courses. I should just show you, just real quick. No, I don't think I have them on my computer. Yes, I do. Let me just show you. I know, it's probably time for that. This is just what the lectures look like. I mean, there were 14. Okay, of course I can't find it. Anyway, we have a whole package now ready to go. Okay, and this could easily be translated to different places. But the most interesting thing is teaching them about evidence-based practice. They don't know. They don't conceptualize it that way. They don't see it that way. And they don't know how to evaluate it. So,
Well, just let's just say that we talked about putting together an online course. Yeah, because I go to China and I struggle with the same issues, and it's just kind of a different. The content is pretty much the same, but the approach and all of that might be a little bit different, given that we're there intensively for just short periods of time. And I didn't know there's a way we could kind of maybe do some online stuff, so they're actually maybe they prepare for the time that they're there, or maybe this was an online course. I think there's a lot of demand for it.
yeah.
And Janet, because she's been learning to do online courses, she can actually provide some really good feedback.
I don't know, you can't even see it. Okay, so that was basically we took lectures from 211A and B, from some of my courses, from some of the research design courses that Philip taught, from some of the Tibet lectures. I mean, we just pushed it all together into sort of, and we actually found using some of the Marshall Kruger, was actually a very good concept. Using the precede model was a very good way to help them understand. We sort of got into a little social ecological theory, but really, just really being basic. Just really basic and trying to help them understand how we think in public health was the most interesting. And they loved it.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob.
Annie, apologies.
And just FYI, when Dr. Young was here, Rob and Annie just were wonderful, took care of him. Good.
Yeah, Annie, sorry she couldn't make it today. Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll see you soon.
All right.
Great, bye-bye.
Bye.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.